Welcome to a new video lesson. In today's lesson, I will give an analysis of Clear Light of Day by Anita Desai. So, let's begin. In my last class on Clear Light of Day by Anita Desai, I was dealing with chapter 2, where I was discussing about the association of Raja with the Hyder Ali's family and how he has become alienated from his own family. As I have told you before, that this novel can be has been divided into two parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, but the novel's structure, this 4-part structure, can be used as a medium to project different time frames. Okay, so different time frames refers here, like chapter 1 deals with the present, chapter 2 deals with the past, chapter 3 deals with further past, and chapter 4 again comes back to present. So we are dealing here with the past. What is the past all about? This past is linked, this past is situated with the time just before the partition, when the idea of partition was going around. But what we see here is that the partition is not just a demarcation of the boundaries, not just a demarcation through the division of geographical boundaries, geographical lands, but this partition, this alienation between two cultures, is presented in a microcosmic way, in the form of a microcosm, in the family of Das, in the family of Raja, in the family of Bhim, that is. Okay, so we see that this partition, with partition comes alienation, the forming of the other, that is Ora Amra formটা চলে আসছে, they and us. Okay, they, so the they becomes the other. This otherness comes along. This otherness begins with the bonding that is lacking between the family. Okay, the bonding that is lacking between the family of Raja, and the same bonding he is finding in the family of the Alis. Okay, so the family of Alis shows that how their bonding is quite tight, quite fixed to its root. This happens when Raja goes on to visit the gatherings in Hyder Ali's garden, where the discussion on politics, poetry, and almost the shabbiness of his own family is portrayed there. The shocking contrast that is present there makes Raja to compare it with his own family. Here, the dissatisfaction within his own family leads to his alienation. The possibilities that were present in Hyder Ali's family were very enticing to him. Okay, so in chapter 2, in the edition by Penguin, we can see in page number 75 that this alienation is taking quite drastically. How? He says that once he had outgrown his khaki school shorts and taken fine white muslin shirts, he acquired sufficient self-confidence to join the circle of much older men. when he would return home and tell Bhim every detail. So, what he would do? He would talk about everything, however casual or trivial things that may be, that happened in the garden of Hyder Ali, any talk that happened in the garden, in the discussion in Hyder Ali's, everything appeared to Raja as alluring. Everything he spoke with a self-radiance came out of his eyes. So what we see here is that Hyder Ali became the father figure, became the big other for Raja. He is the ideal for Raja. And this forces him, or this motivates him to take up Urdu, his wish to take up Urdu after he passed out of school. So, even there is a discussion about Ali Sahib giving a ring to a poet, and he was very Raja was very excited, Raja was very happy about that. So Bhim murmured sleepily, exhausted, waited Raja to come home, and by unmeasured tearful laments his ways. So what we see here is that he's moving away from his own purpose, moving away from his own home, and he's bonding with the Alis. Okay, so after that summer, after his school's final examinations, and when the results were out, his parents, that is Raja's parents, obliged to pay him some attention, and Raja said that he would be willing to go to college, that is he's mentioned that he wants to go to Jamia Millia, okay, which is a minority college, and he wishes to study there. But his father saw the application form and said that this step cannot be taken by Raja, because for him it is a college for Muslim boys. It is a college for Muslim boys. So Raja in return says no one can go there Raja's father says no one can go there who wants to specialize in Islamic studies. Raja said that anyone, it is not about either you are a Muslim or not, anyone who is wishing to go to any research, go for any specialization on Islamic studies, the best place for doing that is Jamia Millia. This phrase Raja liked to use, which he had picked up from Hyder Ali. So what you see here is that when we like someone, it is a psychological process. When we like someone, we try to copy their ways of walking, their ways of doing things, especially in case of film actors and everything. There is a tendency of people to copy that, right? So for Raja, Hyder Ali's words were much more than to be copied. So this impression that Hyder Ali has left on Raja gives him the extra cushion, extra support for specializing in Islamic studies. His father was against it and said, hey, why would he want to do a specialization in Islamic studies? Okay, and his father said that he won't be allowed to do that. he should go to a college which do not have this kind of lineage, which does not confine their thoughts, they confine their ways of reading. But most importantly, it was not just about the study he was going to do. It was more about the political condition that was going to happen. So it was a stormy summer. What does here summer means? The summer of 1947. Okay, so Bhim and Tara would be too puzzled, and they were listening behind the curtains the talks between the father and son, and they argued, and the father and son argued over the thing. The father said that if it was a few years back, he would have said yes, all right. But he says that now this is not possible. So what we see here is that Raja's father is very practical and rational about the political conditions that are going around. Okay, so what we see here is that there is a constant premonition of the political happenings in this section. How the premonition is coming into play? The premonition of the political happenings? It is through the dialogue that Raja's father mentions. He says that it is not about the school record through which he is forcing Raja to not attend Jamia Millia. Actually, he is talking about the political situations that is happening. He says that the Muslims are pressing the British to divide the country and give them half of the land, and he presumes that there would be riots all around, there will be slaughtering, and if a Hindu boy is caught in Jamia Millia, he will be torn into bits and he will be burnt alive. So these are all political premonitions that are happening. What we see here is that all these things happened during the partition period, right? But the interesting thing about this novel is that here all the things that are said is just hinted. The direct commotion, the direct riots are not forcefully enacted. The summer of 1947 divided the nation and the family. Hindu and Muslims are torn apart by partition. This part 2 traces the effect of the partition, the riots on the family. And here, how the riots, even before the starting of the riots, how this had impact on the family is shown here. Okay, and the massive upheaval that happens. Much of the conflict in India during the time of Anita Desai's novel centers upon the religious tension between Muslim and Hindus. Desai mentions the events that are caused by the religious tension, but neglects to address the religion and issue in great detail. Okay, while there is little mention of religion and language, which in India is dividing among religious lines, is brought up many times, there is no direct accusation, no direct conditions of implying how this has brought the disaster. They are told in a more subtle way. Through Tara's and Bhim's consciousness, Desai explains the same events from different points of view. Although the characters barely venture beyond their front gate, they leave out a legacy of India's bitter battle for independence. Okay, and how the old Delhi family was torn apart by partition. The aging, debauched poet, the dignified, tried matriarch, everyone, these characters are they are not victims, rather, they are through all this. They are not victims, neither they are heroes. Okay, in this they are neither victims, neither they are heroes, they are just human beings who had gone through this. Okay, so he knew the political situation well enough from the evening gatherings. He means Raja knew the political situation that was happening through the evening gatherings at Hyder Ali's house, in Hyder Ali's garden rather. So the men talked freely and did forget that this boy was around and his religion was also not kept in mind. So he says that he had never related such talk to his own plans of life, and this shows Raja's naivety, that Raja is harmless. Okay, that is shown through this passage. What is more important in showing here is that Hindus and Muslims alike will be out for your blood, is being said by his father, that as he is not belonging to his own community, as Raja is not belonging to his own community and is trying to enter another community, or rather studying about it, the easy and soft target of the Muslims would be Raja, because he is the odd one out because of the religious difference. Similarly, he would also be the soft target of the Hindus, because he would be considered a deserter. He would be considered a deserter by the Hindus, and that would lead to Raja to be attacked by both Hindus and Muslims. What is shown here is that Raja was thrilled with the idea that, look, the bright-eyed child presented the right sword. Some facts shouted by the father suddenly determined that he was not just a bridge player, but he used those moves against Raja. What? This is done in order to stop Raja from going to a college which is generally for the minorities. That is not in today's context. In today's context, minority, not in those times. Okay. So after telling him the facts about what might be happening to him and all those things, his father saw an advantage that has gained out of his playing cards, and he kept on telling Raja about all the things, and Raja was the one who retreated, and he avoided his father and tried to wriggle out of the confrontation. But his father was the one who constantly make confrontations with him, and his father began to turn up in midst of any conversation or homework and began to address Raja in order as if he is an adult and as adult affairs could be discussed. Okay, Raja was not really prepared for any debate or providing any reason to his father. He carried away his idea on his wings of imagination. Recognizing his father's superior forces, Raja dispiritedly gave in and ceased to argue. The father visits to the part of the house ceased to. Once again he went through the day without addressing the word to them. So what we see here is that there is a tussle between in the center and the periphery. Okay, center is the father, periphery are here Raja, Bhim, Tara, who are all dependent on the center. Right. Here when the very moment center tries to refuse against the power when the periphery tries to refuse against the power of the center, the ideas of the center, the notions that are imposed by the center on the periphery, that very moment the center takes up charge and tries to and brings in the power invested within himself in order to control the periphery, which is the margin, which is actually the minority. Okay, so what we see here is that the tussle, the binary of the center periphery is quite evident in this family. Okay, where one person who is trying to exert his own assertions, own love for reading and thing, but this person who is the center of who is the power holder of the family goes on to exert his own ideas in order to change the ideas of the idea of the person who is dependent on him. This what happens in society also. The social notions are imposed by the powerful. The ideas of the majority, the principles of the majority become the principles of the state, the ideas of the state, and it is imposed on the people. For example, if we take for example the season, the idea of or the time period of Durga Puja, right? This Durga Puja is not the actual time when Durga Puja used to be held, right? All of you know. This is Akal Bodhon. I guess you all know. This is Akal Bodhon. Ramchandra, who invoked the goddess before going into fight with Ravana, right? Ravana was the original worshipper of goddess Durga, which was during the month of April, I guess, month of April, I think, Bashanti Puja, which is called. That was the actual time when Durga Puja was celebrated, right? But as this time, this puja by the Aryavarta, not Aryavarta, the Arya Samaj, the idea has been of the majority in this period, it is of most prominence. Okay, we know that this is not the right time. This was not the right time when she was worshipped. But as this has become the trend, as this has become the idea of the majority, as this has become the principle followed by the majority, this has become the notion, this has become the idea which is to be followed by the state or the country or whatever it is, or the maximum number of people. So this has become the most popular one, right? So the most popular belief is that you cannot if you are a Hindu, you should not study Islamic studies. Okay, that is being imposed by the state because of the political conditions, inspire the father, and in return this idea is imposed on the children who are at the residual point. So you see the power structure. At the top there is the state where he is exerting his power. Following that, it is being imposed on the leaders or the main motivators or the centers or the power holders that can be of the state, that can be of any family, and through them that idea is percolated or imposed within those people who are dependent on them. Right? This is what is happening here. This is a kind of coercion. It is a power structure. The power is imposed on people. The idea of power is imposed through coercion or through force. Here it is the use of coercion technique that is happening here. But in the meantime, another incident happened. Their mother, for the first time in 20 years, missed her evening at club, and she said that she was not feeling well and would stay in her bed. That night she passed into coma. She was lying very still. Their father found that the flaccid on a bed, and quite beyond questioning him on this game, he was taken to the hospital after the ambulance came. The children stumbled out of their beds and watched her being carried out like a parcel containing some dangerous material that had to be carefully handled. Next day, Tara, possessed by childish memory of trailing her mother along the rose walk of summer, clamored to be taken to see her, but a trembling Aunt Mira held her in the arms as if to protect her from something so unsuitable, and their father told them bluntly that she was unconscious and there was no point in their visiting her. Okay, so this patriarchal notion, this patriarchal idea, this patriarchy's power is quite evident in this passage. That's why I read it out. Patriarchy is not just imposed by the males of the society, but it is also incorporated through the people who are following those principles. That can be a woman also. Okay, that can be a woman, that can be a mother too, who becomes the agent of patriarchy. Whatever. Here we see that Tara is still a child, and Tara's love for her mother and wishes to go there, but it is considered to be futile by their father, the head of the family, that it would be futile for them going to the hospital because their mother was unconscious. It might be futile for the mother because she won't be able to see her daughters and son, but it won't be futile for the children, right? But as the head of the family thought that this won't be of any purpose, there won't be any purpose in visiting there, so it was signed, autographed and stamped that they won't go along. They won't go with their father. They won't go to the hospital at all. Instead of going to the club, the father made his visit to the hospital every evening. The children sat on the veranda steps waiting for him to come home with some news. So, what we see here is that there might be a reason that the children are not taken to the hospitals, but we see here is that not even Raja or Bhim was taken to the hospital. They had to wait for the head of the family. They had to wait for the patriarchal torch bearer to come and narrate the news, to give the news, so that they can hear from that. While they waited, they told stories, played games, and forgot. Only the whip of the hospital disinfectants that clung to his clothes when he returned reminded them that he had been to hospital and not to the club. See the irony of the situation. See the what can you say? The poetic instance where they are habituated of their father and mother not being at home. So they play with their own things, they do their own things. But what we see here is that the alienation has taken to such an extent that they even forget that their father and mother are not in the club but in hospital. It is reminded of them by the anesthetics, disinfectants, all the smell that is present, that comes out of their father's clothes, reminds them that their father is coming from a hospital after seeing their mother. What we see here is that this instance is not a happy instance, right? But it is incidental, it is very much inclining to hint that how alienated they have become from their parents, right? And how much they are away in mental bonding from their parents. His face looked gloomier than when he played a bad game. So it would be very wrong to say that his father had no feelings for his children or his wife. It would be very wrong to say that. He would be very sad if his son would have joined Jamia Millia, but at the same time it is the exertion of power that is happening, right? That makes him to believe that he is not an existing power in the family. He is not the power in the family. He does not stay there. Physically he is never present, but his power still remains. It is like the colonial power. The colonial power remains in England. The colonial power in India remained in England, but the power always was exerted on the colonies, right? Similarly here, it would be wrong to say that he was not, that is, Raja's father was not sad because of the things that is happening, because of the sufferings of the mother. He was sad, but what we see here is that the alienation from the family has taken to such an extent that has not been dealt with so much. there is no emotional passage, there is no emotion that is constantly portrayed and portrayed. Okay, what we see here is that there is the look in him which is gloomier than the most favorite thing that he loved, that is playing the cards. Instead, the children would turn to Aunt Mira, who would smile in an unnatural way at their troubled faces and would make them laugh and make them forget the things that are happening. They would may stumbling about the house like a sad comedian. She would do the same. Aunt Mira would do the same. Following that, the mother died without seeing any of the children again. If she ever for a minute regained consciousness, it was only to murmur the names of the familiar cards that seemed to drift through her mind with a dying rustle. So, what we see here is that the most close thing that appeared to that was to the mother was nothing but cards, not even her children. Similarly, the thing is the other way round. The other way round, it shows that the children also felt that after the funeral, during her funeral, they were not allowed to go there. They were not taken there. The children were not taken there. So the children had difficulty in remembering that whether she was out in a club or she has died. Okay, so this was a mutual thing. The mother had always loved the cards, playing cards more, and in return she is not getting the love of the children, of her own children. So what we see here is that these children, as they have not seen her mother's funeral or their mother in the hospital, the last image that they hold, the last prominent image they hold in their mind is that of the mother being in a club and might be playing the cards. They feel it hard to believe that the absence in the house, the absence of the mother in the house, is because of her death and not because of her presence in the club. So for them, she had died long ago. She had died. She was physically present, right? She was physically present. But for them, the motherly instinct, the mother's love had died all much more years back. So this mother, the physical mother, is non-existent thing for them. Mother without mother's love is nothing. So for them, this is nothing. So when the difference that was made here, that the friends, neighbors, and some of the people came there and who shed the tears, which Desai says that the tears were required out of custom. If you go to a funeral or to a shraddh or to a memorial of a person and keep on smiling, you would be considered a crazy person and would be thrown out, right? So what we see here is that Desai says that the friends that brings in here was a custom, the tears out of custom came and wept few tears required by the custom, and they tried to console, tactically agreed to keep their guilt a secret. What is their guilt? Their guilt of not missing their mother, not missing their presence of the mother. That is the guilt. The children looked at one another. The condition was same for everyone. They were not missing the mother. They could not feel the absence of their mother from the house. Right? Why? Because, as I said, this was more important for them, that they believed, they felt that their mother was in a club. So what happened here is that this secret, this guilt became a secret for them, as no one would understand this. They cannot say to anyone also, right? If they say that they are not missing their mother after her death, everyone would look into them as if this child, as a weird child who does not love their mother, right? But love is not a one-way thing. It should come from both ends, right? So if the mother is not a person who is taking care or loving her children, so how can the children love their mother? So what we see here is that their guilt became a secret which cannot be expressed to anyone else. So what we see here is that a personal loss has become a secret, has become an entity which will replace the mother. And that is what is said. The secret replaced their mother's presence in the house. So they have a secret of the guilt. This guilt now replaces the mother. It is through the guilt that the mother is present in the house. And this guilt is a surrogate for the never quite acknowledged and quite often forgot. And this was never acknowledged, never accepted, never put in front of everyone. Okay, but it was quite forgot gradually. Right? So we end it here today. In next class we will deal with the following passages, how it goes on with the themes of the play. Okay.